SweetGeorgiaPam.com is the website that you need to go to. It's kind of like her hub for everything Sweet Georgia Pam. She's got a free guide there called 6 Nights to Better Dream Recall for those of you who have a hard time recalling your dreams. Also, don't forget, she's on social media, Sweet Georgia Pam, everywhere, everywhere. Sweet Georgia Pam, how are you, my friend?
Hey, love. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Now, we don't really break this out into seasons, but we are basically season 2, I guess, because we took a break for the holiday. So good holiday.
Good holiday. It was a little rocky, but I
Mm-hmm.
came through it just fine. Let's say
Same
it that way.
here.
The
Same
steady,
here.
yeah, I'm steady as she goes now. So,
It's,
oh, good.
I think
Lovely.
I like that. Where are you? I like, how are you doing? Steady as she goes. That's
Yeah.
because we talked off air. Like it's nothing major, but it's just
No.
I truly, and we can talk about how dreams can help this, because you really, I think, as you're steady as she goes, to pay attention to your dreams, because it's kind of telling you how you're doing, right? Because I was telling Pam off air that, boy, I'm at the case now coming out of all this that we've been through the past few years, where I'm just kind of mentally not okay. Like, I'm not handling little things. Like, I'm okay, but it's just like I can tell there's a dent. There's a dent in my mental state that needs to be
Yeah.
kind of polished out.
Yeah. Yeah. And because I was going to say, speaking of dreams, which seems like a silly lead in, this is a dream podcast. But speaking of dreams, I was watching my dreams over the course of the holiday, and I could tell, like, oh, there's a pressure valve release of some anxiety. I had an apocalypse dream, which I haven't had in years. And so I was like, okay, we're resetting now.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole lot of anxiety, popping up in my dreams. And one thing that I noted about it that does really good, I think, for our listeners is that I had this dream one time. I can't remember which day it was. It's all a blur over the
I
holidays.
know.
But one of the days I woke up and I woke up with one of those just really yucky feelings. Like the dream was dragging me through some deep muck. And I woke up with like, ugh, I don't want to do this today. Like I was in a state. And what I know is my dreams were taking me through something that now I don't have to hold on to in waking life. Like they're
Mm.
working on my behalf. So I was able to say, like, ugh, I don't want to do this today. Thank you, Dream State, for doing some of that for me. And I know
Yeah.
that that wasn't how I wanted to get out of bed. So just kind of addressing it while I was still lying in bed, just when I woke up going like, yeah, that was yucky. Whatever that was about, I'll take a look at it. I'm going to record it and deal with it later. But also, thank goodness I don't have to deal with that little piece of it anymore, because my
Right.
dreams are bringing it up and dealing with it on my behalf.
I
So,
love that. And,
yeah.
and that's whether it's good or bad, whatever's, because for everybody that's going through a rough time, there's just as many people there that had the holidays of their life, right?
Oh, my
It's
God.
also to look at your dreams, because they're going to reflect all that. So, again, Sweet Georgia Pam on social media, TikTok, she's a big star. And so I know that you have gotten a lot of requests about dreams about houses. And so that's, if you're new to the podcast, that's what we focus on, or we try to focus on one topic per episode. And so houses seems to be a big thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's it's, believe it or not, a lot of people dream about houses that are not their own house in waking life, or they'll dream about a house that they don't live in anymore. And so something to remember is, if like what it can mean if you dream of a house that you don't live in anymore but you used to live in it, is that something from that era in your life is coming back into play now in some aspect of your life now. So if you have a dream, a lot of people are like, oh, and me too, dreams of my grandparents' house, which was a time where I spent a lot of the holidays, actually,
Mm-hmm.
when I was a kid. And so when I have a dream of my grandparents' house, I can go back and know that something from my childhood, something from those fun memories for me, and that loving place where I felt safe is being called back into play in my waking life right now. So, one of the things that's coming up for me right now as I'm talking about it is, if tomorrow I were to wake up from a dream of my childhood, my grandparents' house during my childhood, I would ask, where are my grandparents' energy in my life right now? Where do I feel like I could use a little dose of my nana or my papa in my life right now, and see where that might apply. So
I know
that's if
for,
you're,
yeah.
yeah. So
Well, I was
that's
gonna
if
say,
you're dreaming of an old house that you used to be in.
what if I had a dream once where and this has been decades ago, I had this dream, but I was an old lady.
Oh.
And I remember I don't know if it's children or if it was a child with a spouse and their children. And I was taking them to my old home to show them. But when we got there, and I was like reminiscing and talking, but I was aware that I did not recognize this house. Like, this was not the house that I grew up in, but this feeling was there, and my enthusiasm for showing them. And I remember them having to like physically aid me in walking. Like, I was elderly. And I always thought and that's the only time I ever had that dream, but I distinctly remember because it was so unique. And I remember thinking, and that wasn't my childhood home.
How old were you when you had the dream?
Probably my 20s.
In your 20s. Okay. So okay, we're talking about two different things right now. So as far as the house is concerned, you can think of that house as a stand-in for your human form. Okay. So this is a little bit, we're diving into the deep corner of dream interpretation right now. So you can think of symbolically things that happen on the inside of a house as things that happen internally, like in my mind or in my body, and things that happen on the outside of a house symbolically as things that happen in the outside world. So in the external world. So what you're describing is reflecting on an image of a house, right? Yeah. So you might be reflecting on an old version of your human form, an old version of your body. So what you're, and then you also are talking about embodying an elderly version of yourself. Okay. All right. So
have I just run us off the rails? Have I committed that crime?
I feel like Willy Wonka. We just got like on the boat on the chocolate river, and we just like went into.
Well, I thought it had to do with the house because the house was this focal point of the conversation of the dream. I thought.
But then you also said, but I wasn't myself. I was this older version.
I remember I was fascinated the fact that I was like, oh, did I just see my. Well, first of all, that'd be great if I lived to be that old, and then second, and be able to see more of my family.
Yeah.
And secondly, I was fascinated to be old.
So, all right. Well, I'm going to tie it together a little bit because there is this other idea that's coming up that's pretty fun. What if, in my version of your dream, what if you were, as a 20-something-year-old in real life, reflecting on what it would be like? No, how do I say this? You were embodying one of your ancestors, or you were embodying a story that you have heard from your parents about your great-grandparents, right? So what if you were trying on old age and reflecting on a house that wasn't yours because you were projecting into a story in your family that you had heard?
Didn't think about that.
Right? So it might be that dream is actually like a projection of a family history that you've heard at that point in your life, and we're starting to maybe be curious about, or we're starting to take on some of the life lessons from that story. Yeah.
No, it could be. I don't remember. Again, that's one of those things where the dream, sometimes the distinct memory of a dream lasts, but the context, what I was going through, who I was talking to at the time, I'm closer to that old lady than I was then. So
well, that's an opportunity to encourage everybody to write your dreams down when they happen, because then you can tag it with the year that it was and think about what was going on during that.
And again, I'm sorry to derail. I mean, I'm sure other TikTokers had other house dreams that they suggested. But
Let
it's
me go
interesting that a house is a universal dream that I didn't think about. And a lot of times if I dream about houses, they're either unfinished,
Yeah.
or not mine. Like I don't really
Yeah.
dream
That's
about.
another one. I know. I think that's another popular topic too, is dreaming of a house that isn't yours or that you don't recognize. And
Mhm.
again, if you think about the house symbolizing a body, then you can go into all of the details of the house, what you were doing in the house, whose was it if it wasn't yours, all of that. It can also, however, be that an unfamiliar house is a part of your consciousness that you are just now learning about, or a new skill set that you are just now exploring in your waking life.
Hmm.
So, for example, I recently went and picked up some art supplies as if I am now going to be an artist, a sketcher, or a painter. I don't know yet, but
You
it is a new.
should.
I know, Melissa, you love that idea.
Listen, I know this is a very rare Melissa plug, but
Yes, come on.
if you go to blessyourart.org, my mother was an art teacher, and she was a big believer in everybody exploring art, just like you, or about everybody exploring their dreams. And so, yes, you have to do something with it. It doesn't matter what it is. My mother didn't care if you drew a stick figure or a beautiful Monet. It was as long as you're doing something. So again,
Yeah.
blessyourart.org, because every May 26th, I encourage you to do, that's a day of art. So
May 26th. I'm
May
going to put that on my
26th.
calendar so that maybe I will work towards that day.
And you're like,
between
why
now
May
and then.
26th? Yeah, you're like, why May 26th? Well, that was my mother actually died on her birthday. So that's her birth and death date. I thought that was very poetic and very artistic of her. So that's the day we dedicate to art. So anyway, blessyourart.org. Continue.
I love your mama. I think she's looking out for us both right now. But yeah, so I went and got some art supplies because I'm like, who knows? Maybe there's an artist in here somewhere too that can draw things.
And there's your art house in your dream. But I didn't think about the dream being like a foundation for a new skill. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, something new might be emerging in your life, and it might show up as a house that you're in that feels unfamiliar, that you're exploring, right? And then there's one other thing on TikTok. When we started talking about houses over there, people just really kept bringing this one up. So I'm going to talk about it here, and that is haunted houses. What if the house in your dream is haunted? Which I love that question, because part of my goal in life is to get people to not be afraid of their dreams and their dream space. So I want to talk about these things that are a little bit unsettling, because I can help us put it into some context.
Mm-hmm.
So when something feels scary, or like you feel a presence in the room in a dream, or the house has a presence to it, it can be that there is some lingering event from your past that just hasn't died yet, quote unquote. It's not quite dead yet, but it's already also dead and gone. That time period is dead and gone, but the issue still lingers around. So it can show up in the dream as an area of the house feeling haunted.
Okay.
And you can look at the different areas of the house symbolically as well. So if it's in the basement that's haunted, then it might be something way in the past, a long time ago. If it's in the attic, it might be something that you've metaphorically put in storage. Maybe you've compartmentalized it and it's in storage, but it's still, maybe that particular issue is still getting out and haunting the attic, storage area. So you can think about all the different rooms in the house as well, separately. And
nice. Well, you know what? I didn't. The common response to you is, I never thought of that. I'm not gonna do that. And people go, God, Melissa, will you shut up with that? Because
no, they're like,
everything
me too. I also didn't think of that. I'm like, I didn't either until this moment.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Again, sweetgeorgiapam.com. You can have one-on-one sessions with her. If there's a particular dream that you really want to dive into, she will help you with that. But the goal of the podcast is yes, it's entertaining, because it's fascinating to hear, to think about all these things, but there's also a self-help element to this, where again, if you pay attention to what you're dreaming, you get insight of what you're going through and to really kind of help yourself and to, for a lot, especially women, thank you to the guys that are listening. I don't have a man mind, but I know for a female mind, there's a lot of times where I don't pay attention enough
Yeah.
to certain things, or we don't take care of ourselves. We want to take care of somebody else. And so I think this is good for self-help reasons.
Yeah. I just thought, what if your dreams are one step ahead? What if your dreams are one little step ahead of you in addressing your issues, right? So, what if you can use them to just look at the very next thing you're supposed to look at in your life and, like, untangle that very next piece? And if you use your dreams as a guide, they can just take you like one breadcrumb at a time. Look at this issue. Now look at this issue. And
Mhm.
if you trust them to just show you the very next thing, then they can, lead you into what I call emotional and spiritual well-being.
And if you can't remember your dreams, well, sweetgeorgiapam.com is where you can find a free guide called 6 Nights to Better Dream Recall. Come be a part of the podcast by letting us know about your dreams, but first you got to remember them. So again,
Yeah.
sweetgeorgiapam.com for that guide. And also she is Sweet Georgia Pam on all the social media, including TikTok, where she is somewhat famous. I'm going to have to get her autograph before this is over with. Pam, my love, thank you so much.
This has been good. Sweet dreams, everybody.